Mike here. So I've already planned the Canadian portion. So here are some options for us to consider on the way back. So we're pretty much going to finish in Jasper. So you can see that if I move the map this way through BC, go down to, Vancouver. Well, according to Google Maps, it's like 9 hours or 900 kilometers to Vancouver. So that could be done in, 2-3 days. We could go through the south. We could see Kamloops, Kelowna, and maybe Okinawa Valley to drink some wine if you want. And then check out Vancouver and Victoria. That'd be really nice. And who knows, maybe even a little bit further north, like Nanaimo, or if we have time. Not a priority. I mean, we could easily leave BC for another trip. But an option is if we do go through Vancouver, we could then cut down to Seattle. I have friends there, and he's told me, Washington area and even further south into Oregon are really beautiful. And his name's Darren. I met him 27 years ago in Korea, and he's a really nice guy, and he's always wanted me to come visit him. Alternatively, though, if we don't go to Vancouver, we'll finish up in Jasper, like I said, after having seen Banff. And then we can drive south, which is about 6 hours down to, don't quote me on that, but down to Spokane. Spokane is the capital of Washington. And then we stay a night or 2 or 3 and check out different things in the area. And then you drive from Spokane to Helena. You can see Helena here in Montana. So, I've been told by Uncle Neil that Montana is the most beautiful state, and he's been to, many states in Montana, and including Montana. Maybe Mom, we could visit, Jim's daughter, if that's something that you want to do, and check out, the beautiful things that are going on in Montana. And then from Montana, we drive to Bismarck. Bismarck is the capital of North Dakota, because why not? It's on the way. And New Salem. Maybe we can check out the witches, Salem witches. Okay, so yeah, there's North Dakota. Check out what's going on there. And then we continue driving east, pass through Fargo, maybe worth a stop. And we eventually hit Minnesota. Minnesota, of course, Minnesota and St. Paul. You know what's there. It's, the capital of Minnesota. Well, okay, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if it's the capital, but it's the biggest city there. Definitely worth something to check out. And then you go through Wisconsin and boom, hit Milwaukee. Madison, Wisconsin, Green Bay is not too far, and then there's Milwaukee. Maybe check out a Milwaukee Brewers baseball game or a Milwaukee Bucks basketball game for the NBA, and check out what Milwaukee has to offer, and it's right on Lake Michigan. And then we drive further south along the highway to Chicago, and I don't have to talk about Chicago. It's one of America's best cities. Never been there, definitely worth a look. And then we continue driving eastwards, and we hit I think what happened here is okay, no. Well, anyway, the point is, from Chicago, we'll continue over to Detroit, maybe visit some of Diane's family, and I'm pretty sure Mom, I can't assume, but I think Mom has never been to Detroit. Definitely Carol and I have never been there. Check out Motown, perhaps the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and whatever else that Detroit has to offer. Perhaps go to a Detroit Tigers baseball game, or maybe a Detroit Lions football game, or the Detroit Pistons play basketball, maybe do some sailing on one of the lakes. And then we drive south through Toledo, Ohio. Interesting. That could be worth a visit. But eventually hit Cleveland, Ohio, a very famous city in America. I definitely want to check out Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Indians. I think they changed their name. They're not the Indians anymore. Anyways, yeah, and the Cleveland has a basketball team too. I'm not saying I'm a sports fanatic or anything, but could be worth checking out some pro games. And then from Cleveland, we continue along the southern coast of Lake Erie. Very interesting. Never done that. And then we end up in Buffalo, New York. And when we get to Buffalo, check out what Buffalo has to offer. I can say that I've only been to a shopping center in Buffalo, and that isn't really having said I've been to Buffalo. Therefore, it'd be nice to see what Buffalo has to offer. And then, of course, afterwards, we drive home through Canada. But along the way, we can see the following people. Drive through Ontario, back to Montreal and Ottawa. But we get to see the Hardys, the Weens, the Johns, the Dailies, the Nimos, the Fitzgeralds, and the Lessers. Who are all these people? Well, we've got Darren, Mike, and Mila John, our friends from Hamilton and Kiev. It'd be nice to see them. They're going to be in Canada in July. And then Jason Daly is in Toronto with his family, and they have a cousin, Mark. I could say hi to him. And then there's the Lessers, who are Carol and Wendy, as well as our cousin Mark Zuckner. And then there's also Leslie and Joe Fitzgerald, as well as Richard Nimmo. They are our cousins from the Fitzgerald side who live in Toronto. And maybe there are also some other friends and family that I didn't mention that you guys all know in southern Ontario. Some people you may want to stop in and see on the drive. Maybe even Gary Lamb and Rita in Picton, or some other friends of yours that you worked with at CN or something like that. Yeah, so that's the way back. That's my video for coming home through the northern USA route.